بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا ونبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا. اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما ينفعنا يا ربنا. Brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Peace and blessings be upon all of you. I'm here with our esteemed and beloved Sheikh Yaser Birjas, Hafidahullah. Today we're doing a program called the Fiqh of Zakat, and this program is brought to you by Helping Hand for Relief and Development. Alhamdulillah, as you all know, that this is a refresher course. It is not a substitute for actually going and studying the program in detail, but it is to refresh our memories, as many of us have the habit of paying our zakah in the blessed month of Ramadan. So as part of that initiative, we brought our beautiful mashayikh and scholars, the likes of Sheikh Yaser Birjas and Sheikh Abdool Rahman Khan, who are joining us today for the Fiqh of Zakat. Before we start, I would love to share this quick video that talks about the work of Helping Hand and how your zakah and your contributions help make our efforts easy to help those who are in need.
Your zakat will give HHRD an opportunity to fulfill our commitment to humanity in supporting orphans, sustaining widows, providing clean water in areas affected by disaster, building shelters for refugees, paving the path to success with education, providing life-saving health services, and much more. When you give zakat now, you are ensuring those in need are taken care of, regardless of what's going on in the world.
الحمد لله رب العالمين صلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا ما بعد. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala keep you all safe during this difficult time. I ask Allah Azza wa Jal to make your zakah and your charities a mean of your purification in the dunya and the akhirah. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make this zakah and sadaqat that you give during the month of Ramadan and before the month of Ramadan, if you give today, inshallah ta'ala, ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make this a mean for protection for you from this disease and this virus. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on your behalf to rid this world and our communities and our masajid from the evil of this disease and this virus. Ya Rabbil Alameen. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for those who are ill because of it, that Allah will give them quick shifa and recovery. Ya Rabbil Alameen. And for those who pass, I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for their rahmah and their mercy. My dear brothers and sisters, today inshallah ta'ala our discussion will be about zakah. And I know a lot of people, when we hear zakah and we talk about zakah, it seems to be something very foreign for many people. The reason why, because we always talk about salah, we talk about Ramadan, we talk about Hajj. Few people really study zakah the way they should be. Why? Because there's always this reminder about salah regularly. There's always this reminder about fasting on Ramadan, especially when it's a long month. And alhamdulillah, the experience in Ramadan is phenomenal. And there is also Hajj, the preparation for Hajj between the two Eids. SubhanAllah, it's unbelievable how people prepare themselves to go to this journey and so on. So there's always this beautiful reminder for Salah, for fasting, for Hajj. But when it comes to Zakah, unfortunately, it's one of the most forgotten ibadat, and not so many people pay attention to it. Maybe we know just the basics, meaning we know that it's an obligation that needs to be fulfilled. We know about Zakat al-Fitr probably, and probably we know a little bit about Zakat al-Mal here and there. But to know the details are enough for us as Muslims to fulfill our obligation towards the zakah and to obey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in that regard, a lot of people probably falling short. Alhamdulillah, there's always khair and barakah in everything that happens to us, whether it's positive or negative. And mashallah, regardless how we look at the situation of being in our home right now because of the COVID-19 situation, here's an opportunity for us to remember, have a reminder inshallah about the meaning of the zakah and what's the value of zakah in our lives. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَذَكِّرْ فَإِنَّ الذِّكْرَى تَنْفَعُ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ. You remind because the reminder benefit but the believers. Those who truly believe, those who truly have faith, those who will benefit from the reminder the best and the most, inshaAllah tabaraka wa ta'ala. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us among them, Ya Rabbil Alameen. So let's talk about zakah. Zakah is an Arabic word from the verb zakah yazku. And the word zakah yazku in the Arabic language has the meaning of two things. Number one, purification. And number two, an-nama'u wa ziyad. So purification, because when something becomes yazku, which means is purified. And that's why when we talk about the spiritual growth, it's called tazkiyah. in the Arabic language. The whole purpose of this deen, was sent to the world in order to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the essence of worshiping Allah Azza wa Jal is having this tazkiyah of that spiritual growth in ourselves, alhamdulillah rabbil alameen, and purification. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when he sent the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he spoke about him and he says, قال يعلمهم الكتاب والحكمة ويزكيهم or يزكيهم. So he teaches them the book, and he also gives them the tazkiyah, which means the purification of the hearts and the mind and the life and all the essence of their life. Also, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent Musa alayhi salam to the Fir'aun and the Pharaoh, what did he say to him? He says, اذهب إلى فرعون إنه طغى فقل هل لك إلى أن تزكى. Go to Fir'aun, go to the Pharaoh, because he is tagha, which means he transgressed. And he was the manifestation of transgression altogether. And then Allah told Musa alayhi salam, your message to him, فقل هل لك إلى أن تزكى. Tell him, shall I guide you to purify yourself? So the essence of this deen is all about tazkiyah or zakah. That's the essence of it, purification. That's number one. The second meaning of zakah in the Arabic language means an-nama'u wa ziyada, which means growth. Zakah zara, as they say in the Arabic language, is idha nama, which means when the plants and the garden is mashallah has the zakah, it starts growing right now. So when something is growing, we call yazku. And that also in the spiritual realm and also the physical realm. So the growth in spirituality and purification is called zakah, and the growth physically as well is also called zakah. So from that particular linguistic meaning of zakah, what do we understand? Two important things. Number one, the zakah is very crucial and important for the manifestation of your faith. Manifestation of your faith. That's why the Prophet ﷺ in the hadith, he said, وَالصَّدَقَةُ بُرْهَانٌ. And giving charity, giving your zakah is a manifestation. It means it's an evidence, it's a proof. A proof for what? For being faithful and being a believer. Why so? Because it's so hard for people to part away from their hard-earned money. And when they give it for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it's indeed a manifestation of faith. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the ability to manifest our faith, Ya Rabbil Alameen, through these charities and zakah. The second thing about the zakah, so it's a manifestation of faith because it has that sense. The second thing about the importance of the zakah, it honestly, it brings us out, it brings that growth in our faith, our iman, and our of course, growing in the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from one level to the other one. So there's a level of al-Islam, al-Iman, and al-Ihsan. As you grow, you have that zakah from the level of Islam, which is the basic submission to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as well, to the level of al-Iman, the strong faith and belief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to the level of al-Ihsan, the excellence in this deen. As zakah in that sense has this meaning. Now, in regards to the specific meaning of zakah from a fiqh perspective, the terminology of the zakah in the Arabic language, they define it as قدر معين من المال. قدر معين من المال, which means a specific amount from the money. يُخَذُ في وقت معين من السنة أو من العام, is usually taken out from your wealth and given out at a specific time of the year. لطائفة معينة من الناس, طائفة معينة, which means to a specific category of recipients. So three things here about the zakah in that definition. Number one, it's a specific amount. Number two, it's taken out at a specific time of the year. Number three, it's given to a specific category of people. We call them the qualified category to receive a zakah. And those are 8 categories mentioned in Surah Al-Tawbah, as we're going to explain later, inshallah, tabaraka wa ta'ala. But the point is, the zakah is qadrun mu'ayyanun min al-mal. So there's a specific amount that needs to be calculated and given out. So you calculate and you give out. The second thing is, again, you give that at a specific time of the year, which means there's a shart for condition that a whole year has to go around and pass around. And the third, to be given to these recipients of the zakah. How important zakah is to us as Muslims. You know, whenever we talk about Arkan al-Islam, we say al-Islam, five pillars of Islam. Number one, to say the La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah, the kalima, the manifestation of faith. Say La ilaha illallah. Number two, number one is basically to bear witness there is no God but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Number two, that you pray the 5 daily prayers. You pray the 5 daily prayers. Number three is you give the zakah. Number 4 comes fasting of the month of Ramadan, and number 5 is performing Hajj once in your lifetime. Even though as zakah, in terms of the order of importance of our pillars of Islam, comes the third, not so many people honestly think of it that way. Because again, the reminder for zakah, it becomes very individualistic thing, very, very personal thing. There are not so many reminders out there. It's you who's supposed to calculate your money, knowing that you need to give zakah, and that reminder is on you. to keep always remembering that, which is why it's so important. Subhanallah, subhanahu wa ta'ala, in the Quran, whenever he speaks about as-salah, قال وأقيموا الصلاة, he says وآتوا الزكاة. You won't find so many ayat in the Quran that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala combining salah with something else more than the zakah. Because salah is your relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, your duty to Allah azza wa jalla, your creator. And as zakah, giving that money out, is your duty to the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's why Allah says, وَأَقِيمُوا الصَّلَاةَ وَآتُوا الزَّكَاةَ, which means you make sure that you fulfill your duties to the creator and you fulfill your duties to the creation. Your duties to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and your duties to the people in your community and around you, around the world. This is why az-zakah is so important, because it comes really second after you fulfill your duties to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You're responsible to fulfill your duties to the people, to the creation of Allah azza wa jal. See, in the hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, ما من صاحب ذهب ولا فضة لا يؤدي منها حقها إلا إذا كان يوم القيامة صفحت له صفائح من نار. The day the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam is speaking about those who don't give the zakah, the day he said will come, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that whoever owned gold or silver, today we talk about money and cash, whoever owned gold or silver and money and cash in that sense, and you don't give zakah of that money, he said, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that on the day of judgment, that gold and silver will come as safa'ih min dhahbin wa fidda, like it's gonna come steel plates or gold and silver plates, and they will be heated in the fire of hell, and this person will these plates will be placed on his body. And the Prophet ﷺ says, ala jambayhi wa jabinihi wa dhahrihi, means on his sides, his back, and his forehead. Specifically his sides and his back. Why? Because it seems that this person in the dunya was just enjoying life with this wealth and this money, this excess wealth and money, and never give that duty to the poor and to the needy. My dear brothers and sisters, when it comes to giving zakah, it's an obligation. It's an obligation on everyone who is capable, everyone who has the wealth and the excess wealth and has the condition that we're going to be speaking about, inshallah ta'ala, to fulfill the ahkam of zakah. And our Sahaba radiallahu ta'ala anhum, specifically at the time of Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radiallahu anhu, immediately he understood the value of zakah, because when the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam passed away, a lot of the tribes, they thought that the zakah was more like a tax that's supposed to be paid, to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam as a sign of allegiance. That's all. So they thought, the Prophet Muhammad died, so no need for us to pay the tribute right now, or give him actually the allegiance that's supposed to come with the zakah. So some of these people, they denied the zakah completely as an obligation, and others, they thought, we don't have to pay the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Abu Bakr as-Siddiq was insisting and fighting these people to give the zakah. Some of the Sahaba, including Umar himself radiallahu anhu, was skeptical about the position of Abu Bakr as-Siddiq. He said, Ya Abu Bakr, are you going to go fight them even though they say, La ilaha illallah Muhammadun Rasulullah, that they bear witness there is no God but Allah, and Muhammad is the messenger of Allah? And Abu Bakr as-Siddiq was very adamant about it. He goes, Wallahi, I swear, I'm going to fight them. I'm going to fight them for the zakah. Even if it was the amount of such and such, and he mentioned something so little, such as the rope that usually used to tie a baby goat. He says, even if that was the amount of zakah that they need to pay, I am going to do that. I'm going to fight them for the zakah. And he says, Wallahi, I'm going to fight against those who separate between the zakah and the salah, like make difference between salah and zakah. They both obligation, they both need to be fulfilled. So zakah is so important that, again, even someone like Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, in his understanding, the value of it requires from him to go and launch a campaign to bring people back to Islam, because they're denying az-zakah. And when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave the command to the Sahaba, as in Surah At-Tawbah, فَإِن تَابُوا وَأَقَامُوا الصَّلَاةَ وَآتَوُا الزَّكَاةَ فَخَلُّوا سَبِيلَهُمْ, and if they repent, speaking about the non-believers, the mushrikeen of the Arabian Peninsula, if they repented, which means if they testify that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is their Lord, وَأَقَامُوا الصَّلَاةَ, and they show that through their practice of fulfilling the salah and also giving the zakah. So these two conditions were mentioned. With the tawbah, which means repentant to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they also were commanded to pray the 5 daily prayers and also give their zakah. When Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam sent Mu'adh radiallahu anhu as a governor to Yemen, he radiallahu anhu asked the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Ya Rasulullah, what I shall ask him to do? What is my mission? And the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam told him to go and invite him to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. فَإِنْهُمْ أَجَابُوكَ لِذَلِكَ, ask them to worship Allah and only one, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If they accept that from you, tell them that they need to pray 5 daily prayers. And if they accept that from you, then tell them that they need to pay a specific amount of money that is taken from the rich and given to the poor. So the Prophet ﷺ, he sent them with this clear message that the zakah is the right of the poor in the wealth and the money of the rich, so that the whole community can stand together, inshaAllah tabaraka wa ta'ala. My dear brothers and sisters, there are so many reasons, so many hikam and wisdoms why zakah was prescribed for the believers. Some of them are individual benefits and others communal benefits. So some of these, as we speak about them, inshallah, we realize that these are just for you as an individual, and some of them also beneficial for the whole community, inshallah tabaraka wa ta'ala. So for you as an individual, you will have the purification of the nafs and the soul. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, خُذْ مِنْ أَمْوَالِهِمْ صَدَقَةً تُطَهِّرُهُمْ وَتُزَكِّيهِمْ بِهَا. Ya Muhammad, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was told in the Quran, take an amount of money, take from amwalim, خُذْ مِنْ أَمْوَالِهِمْ, take something, take that portion, which is the zakah, from their wealth and their money. And here's the thing about the ayah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala named the money that you have in your hand your money. Even though in essence, who provided that for you by the grace of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala came to you. But still Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave you the ownership. Like you own this money, this is your money. However, Ya Muhammad, take some from that money, some of it. Sadaqatan, a charity. What's the purpose of it? تُطَهِّرُهُمْ وَتُزَكِّيهِمْ بِهَا. That you purify them and they will grow spiritually with that. So it also it benefits you personally and your wealth as well too. So that purification goes to you personally, which means they removes what Allah called in the Quran as shuh. وَمَنْ يُوقَ شُحَّ نَفْسِهِ فَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْمُفْلِحُونَ. Whoever is being saved from the shuh, the covetousness, which means the stinginess and of his self, his own self. فَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْمُفْلِحُونَ. These are the successful ones. So given the zakah, like I said, alhamdulillah, when you see your money in your hand, it becomes so hard for people just to give it away without having to get anything in return. So for those who truly calculate the money, especially if the amount is great, and they give it out for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it is indeed a great manifestation of faith, and that removes that shuh, the attachment to the dunya is reduced and removed from their heart. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us among them, Ya Rabbil Alameen. It also puts barakah in your own wealth and your money, and purifies your money and increases the money, if not cash value, cash itself, actually the value of it at least, the purchase value of that money. The Prophet says in Hadith in Sahih Muslim, قال ما نقصت صدقة من مال, which means giving charity away does not reduce your wealth and your money. It doesn't reduce the money. It still puts the barakah in your wealth and your money, inshaAllah tabaraka wa ta'ala. Giving zakah is a test to you and I about obedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, especially once again when Allah describes human beings and He says, قال وتحبون المال حبا جما, that you love money with the passionate love. So we're so passionate about loving money. Still though, when you give it out, it's a show of obedience and show of submission to the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When it comes to giving zakah, the zakah is, as we explained earlier, it's a manifestation of faith, like the Prophet said, so Sadaqa to burhan. It shows that you indeed given it as a manifestation of your iman and your faith. A sadaqah, when you give that sadaqah and give that zakah, it's a sign for those who are seeking the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the reward from Allah azza wa jal. As Allah described them, He says, الَّذِينَ يُنْفِقُونَ أَمْوَالَهُمْ بِاللَّيْلِ وَالنَّهَارِ سِرًّا وَعَلَانِيَةً. Those who spend their money, أَمْوَالَهُم بِاللَّيْلِ وَالنَّهَارِ, day and night, سِرًّا وَعَلَانِيَةً, publicly and privately. They give it privately and they give it also publicly when there's a fundraising or otherwise. And that is, subhanAllah, it's a sign for them that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says and gave them the testimony. فَلَهُمْ أَجْرُهُمْ عِنْدَ رَبِّهِمْ. Their reward is with Allah azza wa jal. وَلَا خَوْفٌ عَلَيْهِمْ وَلَا هُمْ يَحْزَنُونَ. They shall have no fear and they shall have no grief. No fear for the few from the future and no grief about the past if they missed anything from the past. My dear brothers and sisters, when it comes to giving zakah as well, zakah really helps the poor and the needy in our communities. It will help them to recover from the difficulties they're going through. And it also, alhamdulillah, saves their dignities. They have to go and keep asking and begging, especially when they go out, and how difficult that can be, Allahumma musta'an. All of these things eventually it helps the society and the community. And finally, one of the most important things about the virtue of the zakah, one of the most important things about the virtue of zakah is that actually it breaks down the wealth as it's monumental, as actually is in the hand of a lot of people, and the rich among the people. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he demands from us to share that wealth with the poor. So those who have millions of dollars, they have to give thousands of dollars, in charity to the poor. So we share it with them. And obviously, when you do so, alhamdulillah, the money will never stay concentrated in the hand of few. And in addition to the zakah, is also the mirath, the inheritance, does that as well too. But this one breaks down the wealth from the hand of the rich to also share it with the poor. And if that is the case, obviously this is protection to the poor and also to the rich, because the poor will be protected from suffering in the society, and the rich will be protected so that the poor, if they feel underprivileged and feel taken advantage of, they will never go after the rich and after their money. SubhanAllah. So there's a mutual benefit to everybody in the community when it comes to the zakah. Now, when it comes to the zakah, there are certain conditions we need to fulfill. What are they? The zakah, who gives the zakah? Basically, the one who gives the zakah is the Muslim. So when we go after the non-Muslim to give zakah, it wouldn't be accepted, because the main condition is to be Muslim, someone who truly believes that this is an act, an obligation from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There's no doubt that the non-Muslims as well, they give charity. They give a lot of charity. Some of them, they have a certain amount, some of them just give in general. But to call it zakah, it is only zakah if you truly believe that this particular amount in your wealth should be given because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala demands that you do so. And when you give the zakah, obviously zakah is given from certain amwal that we call them zakatable money or wealth. And what are these zakatable categories? So there's the most common thing people they ask about usually is what we call them an-naqdain in Arabic, which means the gold and silver. Today, what replaces the gold and silver as the value of commodities is the cash money. So most of us, alhamdulillah, right now, if you have the cash, this is now what replaces the use of gold and silver to exchange in order to value the commodity. So when you buy something, you say $5, $10. Back in the day, they said 2 dinars, 3 dinars, which means 2 golden coins, 3 silver coins, and so on. So you give from the zakah, you give from the money, from the cash, from the gold, silver, and the cash money. You give from what we call arud al-tijara, which means if someone has business and they have inventory, whether it's cars, food products, clothes, whatever that is, they also need to pay zakah from that. Also, when it comes to investing in stock and so forth, and 401ks as well, the ulama, they have their opinions on the zakat. Given zakah, you should, but how and how do you calculate that is a different story. Sheikh Abdool Rahman, inshallah ta'ala, will be explaining that to you in details, bidnillah azza wa jal. Part of the zakah amount that we also share the animal stock, basically domestic animals, particularly an an'am, and in this case the camels, the cows, and then the sheep, and there are specific amounts for that. And also what we call kharij min al-ard, what comes out from the earth, from the ground. 2 things, something called ar-rikaz, means treasures, such as metals, precious metals, whether it's gold, whether it's steel, whatever that is. There's a specific amount for that. And also what comes out from the earth as well, crops, which means food items that people grow. And that is a different category. I don't know if we're going to be able to talk about this in this session, because when it comes to what people usually actually ask about, mainly we ask about the gold and silver, or ask about the cash, and ask about the business, and ask about the stock market, and so forth. So these are the things that we'll focus on, inshallah tabaraka wa ta'ala. So that's in regard to what are the zakatable amount or money that we need to take care of. Okay, so now let's talk about the zakah practically right now. When do I need to pay zakah, and what are the qualifications for me to pay the zakah? You pay the zakah when you own what we call it nisab. When you own what you call it nisab. And what is the meaning of nisab? And nisab is a minimum threshold. A minimum threshold, a value on your money, that if you have it, once you own that money, your money right now becomes zakatable. And what is that amount? What is that amount exactly? So this amount was we call nisab, the minimum threshold. The ulama, they discussed that nowadays in modern terms, it is the value of 85 grams of gold. 85 grams of gold, is 21 karat actually. 81.5 grams of gold. If anyone has excess wealth, X means cash, money in their hands, sitting in the bank, or maybe they divided into different accounts and so forth, the total amount that is in their hands, obviously all of this, if you have it and the amount of it goes over the value of 85 grams of gold, pure gold, then your money becomes taxable and you're required to give the amount of zakah. But before we get to this amount, to talk about the amount, what is it exactly that nisab that we're talking about over here? First of all, we have to understand the nisab, which means the threshold, minimum threshold, should be excess wealth. And how do you know that it's excess wealth? That another condition needs to be also applied to it, that this amount of money that you have in your hand, a whole year should go around, and your money doesn't go below this. It increases, goes above that, but it never goes below that. Again, the money keeps growing, but it never goes below that amount throughout the year. So if you have a whole year and in your possession you had this amount of money, obviously it means you have excess wealth that requires to pay, you're required to pay an amount of zakah on that money. How much is that money? I actually looked at the gold price today for you just a few hours ago to check how much would that be. So the nisab al-dhahab, they call, which comes to calculating the value of our money equivalent to the gold, 85 grams of gold today. 1 gram of gold, just about, I would say 3 hours ago, I calculated that, I looked it up, it was $54.77, $54.77, that's per gram, which means times 85, that is 4,825.45 cents. Again, $4,825.45. This is the minimum amount of zakah that people need to start calculating. Like if anyone has cash money in their hand, that is the equivalent of this amount, or it reaches that level, which means to round this up, for example, to the minimum to be on the safe side, we say 4,800. If anyone has 4,800, again, $4,800, and this money, alhamdulillah, stays with them for a whole year, the money increases. Again, increases $1, $2, $5,000. Maybe it becomes at the end of the year 5,000, 6,000, 7,000. Went down a little bit to 5,000 again. Went up again to 7,000. Then went back again to 6,000. Went up to 12,000. By the end of the year, by the end of the whole year, if your money is still above this amount, you need to pay the zakah. And what is the zakah that needs to be paid on this money? It is the amount. It is 2.5%. 2.5% of this amount. And the zakah on the minimum threshold, just to give you the perspective on how much that is, the zakah on the minimum threshold, which is the $4,825.45, is actually $120.63, which means $120.63. This is the amount of zakah that needs to be paid over the $4,800. So now we understand, we realize, so for $10,000, you pay $250, and for $100,000 you pay $2,500, and then for $1 million you pay $25,000, and so on. So you keep increasing, obviously. But then it doesn't matter how much money Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blessed you with, you're going to calculate the 2.5% and give that as the amount of the zakah. Remember, when it comes to giving the zakah, you have to own that money for an entire year. Now the ulama, they say, people, they ask questions, they say, hey, hold on a second. What about the money I earn midway, I know halfway through this year, like maybe 3 months later? At the beginning of the year, I had 5,000, alhamdulillah rabbil alameen. 6 months later, I got another 5,000, total of 10,000. So by the end of the year, they'll pay zakah only on the first 5,000 and wait for another year for the next 5,000 that I earned throughout the year? Or what do I do? No. What you do is you start calculating your zakah once you own the minimum nisab, the threshold, which means the $4,800, as we said, or $900. So in this case, if you own this amount of money, it doesn't matter how much you earn and when you earn it. Even if you earn an extra $10,000 a month before the zakah it becomes due, you calculate this $10,000 as a sum total of all the money that you have, and you pay 2.5% on all this money. So remember this is for the cash money that you own, inshallah ta'ala, because I know a lot of people that keep asking, okay, yeah, but I had this, alhamdulillah, for only 2 months, or maybe 2 weeks, or 10 days before the zakah became due. Yeah, if you already have it, and you already had an amount above the nisab for the whole year, you add this to it, and you pay zakah on everything, inshallah tabaraka wa ta'ala. Now, regarding the condition of the whole year, this is only applied to the naqdayn, which means to the cash money and anything equivalent to the cash money, such as the urud al-tijara, meaning the inventories you have for business and so forth. So these are the ones that you need actually to pay to wait for a year before you can pay you should pay the zakah for. As for crops or animals, or actually, as a matter of fact, animals as well too, for the whole year, wait for the whole year. But as for the crops and whatever you take out of the ground, Now, once you get it out, and once you harvest the crops, this is when you pay the zakah, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَآتُوا حَقَّهُ يَوْمَ حَصَادِهِ. You give the zakah of this amount of this food or this crops the moment actually you harvest that food. Now, there are a few questions people they ask regarding zakah and how to give the zakah, when to give zakah. The details of the zakah, I'll leave this for Shaykh Abdool Rahman to explain to you, inshallah ta'ala. But in regard to some of the ahkam of the zakah, am I allowed to hold the zakah in my hand and wait for the right moment to give the zakah? Like the zakah became due today. And usually people, they put a date that they can remember. Sometimes they put the beginning of Ramadan, the end of Ramadan. Some people, they put the beginning of the Hijri year or the end of the Hijri year. Whatever date that you choose for, once you own it, you need to specifically put the zakah on that date. And every year that comes, you calculate your money, inshallah tabaraka wa ta'ala. When it comes to giving the zakah, obviously, with the amount of money that you have, there are certain conditions that your money is not tied to immediate debts. What's the meaning of immediate debts? That means if you have an amount of money, 10,000 in your hand, and you owe somebody 6,000, so they need the money right away, so you give them the 6,000 right now. If you deduct that completely, you're left with $4,000. And if you're left with $4,000, obviously, you would not be able to pay the zakah, because now the 4,000 is below the threshold, the nisab. So therefore, you're not supposed to be zakah on this money. But if your debt's only $3,000 and you deduct that from the 10,000, you still have 7,000. You pay zakah on the 7,000, not the $10,000, provided that you're giving this money to settle an immediate debt. But if you have student loans, if you have a mortgage, and you're paying monthly payments or car payments, then you only calculate the amount for that payment, and that's it. The rest of it, you pay zakah on that amount. Otherwise, if because of mortgage, no one's going to pay zakah at all, or if someone has a school loans and they're not paying them immediately, they're paying on payments, on monthly payments, you only deduct them payments that you actually owe during that time. Also, when it comes to the zakah, a zakah is about the money, not about the owner. What does that mean? So what about the money that is owned by orphans, little kids? I'm just responsible to take care of their money until they become that age, inshallah, to give them the money back. May Allah bless you and reward you for your help and assisting them, inshallah ta'ala. But still, you need to pay zakah, because the zakah is due on the money. It doesn't matter who owns that money. Now, we talk about zakah. We talk about the zakah that you obviously it's in your hand and you give it away. So therefore, make sure once you calculate the zakah, that's the right of the poor. You should give it away. You give it to the poor, inshallah ta'ala. And Shaykh Abdool Rahman will explain to you the recipients of the zakah, inshallah ta'ala. A lot of people, once they calculate the zakah, they keep it in their possession, and they say, I'm going to give it to them, by buying them medicine or buying this or buying that. Now, technically speaking, you're not supposed to do that. You're supposed to give the zakah to the poor, because it's supposed to be tamlik, like give them the full ownership of the zakah. However, we know that some of these poor might not really be financially responsible. So if we give them the money, they're going to just spend it right away. So not responsible for it. So in this case, it is okay to establish an organization that you give them the money to spend on these people, inshallah ta'ala. Or if they are relatives of yours, then you take the money out of your accounts, keep it in a separate account, and give them monthly payments so that they can survive off of it. Otherwise, if you give it to them at once, they will just kind of completely vanish in no time. So you are allowed to do that, but you're not supposed to control the money to pay things, for them that they're not supposed to be necessities probably for them at that time. Wallahu alam. Also, are you allowed to give the zakah ahead of time or earlier? Yeah, alhamdulillah. If Allah bless you with the wealth and you know how much you're predicting to get in the next year, the ulama, they say up to 2 years, as a matter of fact, you could do that. Up to 2 years, you can pay the zakah ahead of time. So if you know that someone, let's say, need money right now, and they're in need of this money right now, and they're in a very difficult situation, subhanallah, and you know that your zakah is about 5,000 in 1 year, so 2 years, 10,000. Alhamdulillah, I do have the cash in my account right now. Can I give the zakah right now and now not giving zakah for the next 2 years? The answer is actually you are allowed to give the zakah. As some of the ulama, they say again up to 2 years. It's always better for you, of course, to give it, on time, inshallah ta'ala, because every time people, they have their needs. And it's also recommended that when you give the zakah, you keep the zakah local. And specifically at a time like ours, I will highly recommend for brothers and sisters to do so as well, because we all need that, inshallah ta'ala. And then if not, we give it to the next emergency, the next emergency, the next emergency, all the way until those who are in need. yes, of course, giving it to a relative who's in need better than give it to someone who's not relative to you. But the need also plays a major role to whom you should put as a priority. If your relative is not in that great priority for the zakah, then give them sadaqah. But keep the zakah for those who have more priority, especially people in emergencies like in our time, Allah musta'an, it's all over the place. And when you give the zakah, make sure that you give the zakah from not necessarily the best of what you have, and not either from the worst of what you have. Give from the middle. If you're giving food, for example, as zakah. In this case, that's zakah. Or if you're giving an animal as a zakah, if someone's giving from sheep, for example, cows. You give from the medium. Not the best, not the worst, something medium, inshallah, tabaraka wa ta'ala. Make sure that when you give, that you make sure that you give it to the right person, the right category. If you're unable to verify the person to be eligible for zakah or not, then take this responsibility off your back and your shoulder and give it to organizations such as Helping Hand over here, inshallah ta'ala, and they will reach to the right population, right communities, and give it to them on your behalf, inshallah azza wa jal. In the past, people used to give the zakah to the state, or the state responsible to collect the zakah, and will make sure to administer the money where it's needed in the community. Unfortunately, we don't have this anymore. So alhamdulillah, we have organizations today, like I said again, like Helping Hand and other organizations, mashallah, and they do a great job, tabarakallah, in fulfilling the obligation on our behalf. So you give it to them, and inshallah, they will take that on your behalf, bi'idhnillahi, tabaraka wa ta'ala. Last question, people that might ask, say, hey, can I calculate my taxes to be as my zakah? Well, even if the tax that you pay is a fair tax, even if it is a fair tax in this situation, it still doesn't count as the zakah. You need to give the zakah separately as an ibadah, an act of worship that you fulfill an obligation between you and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And may Allah azza wa jalla accept from you, Rabbil Alameen. There is so much we can talk about as zakah, but I know I need to leave the time for Sheikh Abdool Rahman, inshallah, tabaraka wa ta'ala, to give his part and talk to you about the details of the zakatable items and how to give it out, inshallah, tabaraka wa ta'ala. Jazakumullah khair. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Abdool Rahman, you're there? Abdool Rahman?
Okay, and go to the next question.
Assalamu alaikum, can you hear me?
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Okay, I was having some technical difficulties. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. First, let me bring you back, Sheikh. There you are. How are you?
Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah.
MashaAllah. Jazakallah khair.
This is just a quick illustration and explanation what zakah is and the meaning of zakah and general question people ask about zakah. The details, inshallah ta'ala, I left for Sheikh Abdool Rahman to explain to the people, inshallah ta'ala.
First of all, as the Egyptians, they say, Allah yaftah alayka ya basha.
Ameen, and you too.
So, Jazakallah khair for the beautiful explanation. I know that it's not, a very comprehensive, it's not a detailed program, but this is an introduction to those who need to refresh themselves. And Jazakallah khair to the Sheikh for all the time. I would like to bring also our other Sheikh here today, Sheikh here.
Assalamu alaikum. Can you hear me?
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Ahlan bi Sheikh. How are you doing?
Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah.
Are you doing good? How are you both are keeping during this time, during the lockdown? Sheikh Yaser, Sheikh Abdool Rahman. Everything is good? Family's okay? Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah.
We're keeping you all in our du'as, inshallah.
All the Muslims, everyone, that Allah remove this bala from all of us.
Ameen. I hope, inshallah, with their zakah and their charities, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will send the khair and the rahmah upon us. Really to participate and give so the rahmah can come down, inshallah ta'ala. I'll leave the floor for you, Shaykh Abdool Rahman.
I do have
Sheikh Yaser. Allah yaftah alayk. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Before the Sheikh starts, I would like to share something with our brothers and sisters. A quick commercial break.
Your Zakat will give HHRD an opportunity to fulfill our commitment to humanity in supporting orphans, sustaining widows, providing clean water in areas affected by disaster, building shelters for refugees, paving the path to success with education, providing life-saving health services, and much more. When you give Zakat now, you are ensuring those in need are taken care of, regardless of what's going on in the world.
Assalamu alaikum wa barakatuh. Sheikh Abdool Rahman. Program to inshallah ta'ala. Now you're going to take the second segment, the application, the technicalities of the Fiqh of Zakat. This is a very important subject because alhamdulillah, Helping Hand for Relief and Development does do a lot of work, and we have a lot of programs that are Zakat eligible. And a lot of the times we get questions about some of these projects and things like that we're doing. And alhamdulillah, we have you today in our midst to answer some of those concerns and to kind of educate people on how to give their zakat. Now the application, you have the money, you meet the requirements, you have the nisab, the hawl has come. How do you do it now? This is the application now. So inshallah ta'ala, the Sheikh will be doing that part. And if their questions do come in that are important, I will share with him in the back end to kind of answer during the presentation. Sheikh, it's all yours.
I do have a PowerPoint, so would you be able to, are you able to see it?
Yes, let me add it to the screen.
Yeah. So you can see it, right?
Sheikh, we can see it. Alhamdulillah, it's good.
Okay. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله أما بعد. Dear brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. And like my dear beloved Sheikh, Brother Yaser Birjas, I too would like to start off with making dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He removes this waba, this bala from all of us, from the whole world. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala keep our doors open for the month of Ramadan and protect us from any harm and any danger, whether from the disease or otherwise. So we will continue. Alhamdulillah, Sheikh Yaser alluded to some of the points that I have, which makes it easier, mashallah. Whatever he addressed, I will just go faster with that. So he used the word Sadaqa, that maybe sometimes you want to give your relative Sadaqa. And so I want to begin by differentiating between Zakat and Sadaqa. And while the word Sadaqa is sometimes used to refer to the obligatory Zakat, so they're interchangeable at times, but there are differences. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, خُذْ مِنْ أَمْوَالِهِمْ صَدَقَةً تُطَهِّرْهُمْ وَتُزَكِّيهِمْ بِهَا. So take from their wealth Sadaqa. And this Sadaqa here, by ijma of Sahaba and Mufassirin, that Sadaqa there means Zakat. So there are times they're interchangeable, and they are times when they come separately, they can have their own meaning. And so Zakat is that portion of wealth which is given by way of obligation. Okay, it has to be given by way of obligation, carrying out the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and is given on specific property to those entitled to them according to those guidelines, as Sheikh has mentioned earlier. Whereas Sadaqa, it is also worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by giving money or wealth, without that being compulsory, without that made compulsory upon that person. So while zakat is compulsory, Sadaqa, you also get reward for it, but it is not under compulsion. Just think about the 5 daily prayer and think of Nawafil prayer. Okay, so you get reward for one Nawafil prayer, but it has not reached that level of compulsion. Zakah is also specific. It is enjoined in Islam on specific things such as gold, silver, cash, crops, livestock, and so forth. Whereas Sadaqa, it is not obligatory on any form of wealth. Rather, a person can give anything, any amount from any sort of property or guidelines. Zakat is also what Allah has enjoined to be given to certain types of people. And it is not permissible to go beyond that. So it's very limited. We're going to come to that, inshallah. Whereas Sadaqa, it may be given to those mentioned in those categories as well as others. So Sadaqa is more, can be widely given. Whoever dies and owes their zakat and he leaves wealth, it is upon his inheritors to at least take out that portion that they should give to zakat and give it in that portion to those categories that ought to receive his zakat. Whereas Sadaqa, you do not have to take out from that person's wealth in any way, So Sadaqa has less regulations when it comes to when someone dies. Zakah is subject to conditions that one full Hijri year has to pass. And then you give out that zakat so long as the nisab, as Sheikh also mentioned, explained the nisab is given. Whereas Sadaqa is not subject to any condition. It can be given at any time and any amount. Note, oftentimes people think that they are not eligible to give zakat. So they have nothing to offer. For example, HHRD come around. So they say, I don't have, or I don't reach the nisab, so I can't give anything. Or some people feel that, look, I've already given, my zakat, and that's it, 2.5. And when charitable organizations like HHRD come around, they said, we already give to so-and-so. We already give to so-and-so. And so they think that they do not have anything more to give, but they can take from their Sadaqa. As Sadaqa, or as Sheikh mentioned, you can give your zakat earlier, much earlier. So you can give zakat this year and you will keep it as your amount that you have already given out. So when 2021 comes, you can say, well, you know what? I have given already $3,000 in 2020. I need to give $3,000 more because this is 6,000 is what my zakat should be for 2021. So you already give 3, you can only give 3 more. Or you just give some nice, good Sadaqa, okay? Some nice, good Sadaqa for your brothers and sisters. And remember, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala refers to those وَيُؤْثِرُونَ عَلَىٰ أَنفُسِهِمْ وَلَوْ كَانَ بِهِمْ خَصَاصَةٌ وَمَن يُؤْقَ شُحَّ نَفْسِهِ فَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْمُفْلِحُونَ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about the muhajirin, the immigrants, that they were so poor, and yet they give up some of their wealth, whatever little they have. and they give preference over others than themselves, even though they were in need of that. And whoever is saved from his own covetousness, his own greed, such are those who will be successful. So, brothers and sisters, Sadaqa is an open field. And I just wanted to mention that because sometimes Sadaqa is hidden somewhere, and we give our zakat and we say this is it, and we have nothing more to give. So think about just praying your fard prayer alone. There is no sunnah, there is no nawafil, there is no tarawih, there is no salatul khusuf and kusuf, there is no salat for rain. So imagine all of that we leave out in our lives. It's not good. We have to make well with whatever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given to us. So while 2.5% is the amount you give for zakat, Sadaqa is really an open field, and you can give whatever amount. Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, "Afdalu sadaqati juhd muqil," that the best charity is given when one is in need and really struggling for it. Okay, and many parts of the Quran also. لن تنالوا البر حتى تنفقوا مما تحبون. So you can reach that level until you spend for that which you love. ويطعمون الطعام على حبه مسكينا ويتيما وأسيرا. So they give from what they love. Okay, the love of the wealth. Some scholars say the love of the wealth or the love for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You give the miskin and those in captivity and those in poverty. So now let's, Sheikh also mentioned about some of this already, but it comes under some of the aspects I was asked to do. Zakat on gold, silver, and cash, zakat on business stocks, zakat on business assets. So we are talking here to 2-3 different groups of people. Okay. So if there are businessmen inside of this group, you will, inshallah, learn some of the aspects of zakat, and also for the general public of gold, silver, and cash. So cash when we talk about cash, it includes cash in the bank and cash at home. It includes cash saved for any purpose. So, people put away cash for everything, So I have cash for this, when my little boy grow up, when my little girl grow up, and when they're going to have married, when they're going to have a party. So people save up cash for every little thing, bring all out. When it's time for zakat, brothers and sisters, you cannot hide from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah knows where these cash are stashed away. And it is between you and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Remember, this zakat, this wealth is the wealth of the poor put in your wealth, in our wealth. And Allah is testing us, because at the end of the day, we all leave this dunya and we all leave this world and return back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Even if it goes on to our progeny and our inheritors, eventually they too will pass on until the day of the trumpet, and everything goes back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَلِلَّهِ مُلْكُ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ. So this cash that we have anywhere, and we can call it designated cash. There's no such thing when it comes to zakat. Cash is cash. It all belongs to you. And gold and silver that you own, you take the current value. We don't use silver that much. You hardly see people using much silver, but still, if you have silver. So all of this will come together. You will combine them. A lot of people have gold, definitely gold. and you have shares in different companies. Hopefully they're halal companies. So the value of the share you own, and it is to be valued at the time of zakat. Again, Sheikh mentioned the way that when you have a specific time that you calculate your zakat. Many people, and I'll come to that, many people use Ramadan as a point of their zakat, to take out their zakat and give. Whether it's Ramadan or Rajab, Shaban, whichever month you feel that it is okay for you to take out your zakat and calculate and give, that's fine. But the value at that time, because I don't know. I do know how shares work, even though I don't possess shares. But one-time shares can be $1 or $2, and then these shares go up 100 times, 200 times, even more. Okay, so depends on how the company goes, and it just goes into a big amount. So you buy 10 shares, and all of a sudden you become very rich with those 10 shares. Similarly, you can have 1,000 shares, and overnight they go down. So at the day of your calculation or the time of your calculation, make sure you know the value of your shares. Money owed to you, which are highly likely to be repaid. Okay, so you lend a friend money, he tells you, look, next month I am going to give you back your money. You know him, you know what transaction is it, you know that this is just a temporary thing, you have full documentation or some something in lieu of the money. So you know that he's going to give you back your money, or whatever institution that you have, then that is also part of your calculation. And these are all combined. And if they reach the nisab, which is, as Sheikh mentioned, today, and it will change. It might change between now and Ramadan. These things fluctuate. At the time when you're paying, it can go up, it can go down. But just every day, they do have the gold market, the gold bullion. And there you get the value of 3 ounces of gold, 3.87 ounces of gold, or 85 grams, and you can find the gold value. And for that that is the standard value you use, and sometimes is fluctuating around 5,000. So today it is 4,800. A few days ago I checked it was 5,200. So maybe with the COVID-19, people are not trading so much, so the gold price is going down. Once COVID-19 is gone and people start their life, maybe gold prices will go up by the beginning of Ramadan or whenever you're calculating your zakat. So pray for COVID-19 to go away. Don't pray for the gold prices to be down. So they're all combined, and then the nisab you multiply by 2.5%, or easier, 0.025. 0.025, which is 2.5%. So whatever amount you have, you multiply by that. And I'll come to some examples that I give. Now, gold and silver, this is something that is very important. And for our sisters particularly, gold and silver that you use, personal use. According to Hanafi madhab, all gold and silver you own, whether you wear them or not, whether it's on your finger or your foot or your head or your hand, wherever it is part of your wealth, and you should pay zakat on that. Okay? So according to Hanafi madhab, you pay zakat on all of your gold and silver. Again, I say silver because, silver price is very minimal. But again, they come together. If people wear silver, that's fine. So you own silver, that's fine. You add it together. And if you wear them or you don't wear them, according to Abu Hanifa and his madhab, you pay zakat on that, on everything. So you might have some gold that you only wear at a wedding, you only wear at after wedding, you wear the night before wedding. Maybe you have all of that different categories of gold. So according to him, you put all together, all of it is gold, and you pay zakat 2.5%. In Shafi madhab, any gold or silver that is used for personal use, so you constantly have a ring or bracelet or a necklace or earring that you wear all year round, those are not included as part of your wealth. But the ones that are, sporadically worn, like at a wedding or, far apart, that you don't use every day, those are eligible for zakat, but the ones that you wear can be deducted. The better option, however, is that you pay zakat on all jewelry. And there are other hadith that tells you that the Prophet ﷺ, after the Eid prayer, he would go to the women's section and tell them. And there were women who took off their bangles there and give it as zakat. So based on a few other understanding, that the better opinion is to pay zakat. Now, I don't want anybody to see zakat as a punishment, zakat as a tax, zakat as something depressing. Zakat must be something that live you up. As Sheikh mentioned, the word itself to purify you. So imagine I'm full of my sin. And if this little zakat I can give, and I think the next slide, yes. Imagine out of every $1,000 gold that I'm wearing, if $25 I can pay out of that, and Allah will bless me, Allah will purify me, Allah will clean me from my sins that I have accumulated. Isn't $25 happy for you to say, take $25 rather than hiding, should we, I'm going to go with this opinion and that opinion. I really think we have taken zakat a little too much like taxes. And zakat is ibadah. Zakat is like salah. It cannot be seen as a burden. It has to be seen as I want to purify my soul. I want to purify my heart. And if $25 is what it takes to do that, I will do it. Because after all, if a friend comes over, we spend a lot more than $25 to entertain him or her. Just a pizza somewhere might be $25. I'm from Chicago. And you buy this deep dish pizza. Now they have halal deep dish pizza, and they're worth a lot more than $25. Okay, so don't make zakat burdensome. Make zakat a pleasure. And I will tell you, my dear brothers and sisters, if you make zakat a pleasure, you will feel in that year how your soul feels good, how your heart feels good. Don't make this zakat be like a burden over you. This zakat is not a burden. And that is why Abu Bakr radiallahu an, when those people felt that zakat was a burden on them, he said, I'm going to wage a war on you if you're going to disconnect zakat and salah. Now, zakat on business stocks. So if you possess shares for the purposes of trading, then you must include their value in your wealth or assets. So if you own shares, and those shares, this is in a business now. You have a business. This is your business. I have 100 shares in my business, but you have those shares for the purpose of trading. that you're going to get wealth out of it and so forth. So you must include that value into your assets. So I have 100 shares, people are buying them. They want to I don't know how many people might be that, so don't go into details if you are not into this business stocks. So if you have a company and you possess shares that are not for trading, so you have this business and you have 20 shares in your little company, and you hold them as investment. So 20 brothers, you come together, you buy 2 share, buy 3 share, and it is not really for trading the share, but it's basically that we are going to have a dividend maybe at the end of the year. At the end of the year, we are going to give out whatever money comes. It could be $5, it could be $10 at the end of the year. So it's different from the stocks that are there for trading on an everyday. So this is more like brothers come together, they put some money, and they have part of that, they possess part of that shares in that little company, and it is meant for investment to deliver some dividend at the end of a particular period. Then those stocks that you have, let's say 20 stocks, 100 stocks, whatever it is, you pay at the end of that year. You don't pay as what those business stocks really have. Thus, the value of the stocks you possess in the business is considered cash, so they are added to your gold, silver, and your cash amounts. So the value of stocks you have. So you have in your business, out of 50 shares, I have 10 shares. Okay. So in that, it is considered as part of your cash that you put in your company. You pay zakat on that. The rest of the stocks, you do not pay on that because you don't own them. They're owned by someone else. Remember, what you do not possess in your stocks, you do not calculate in your zakat. As simple as that. What you possess in your stocks, you pay. What you do not possess, you do not pay. That's the rule of thumb. Again, if the amount reaches the nisab, which is approximately 3 ounces of gold, or as I said, a few days ago, it was $5,200, and has passed a year and in complete ownership, then zakat is taken out as 2.5%. And the easier way is to multiply by 0.025. So whatever you have, let's say you have $250,000 on business stocks, on cash, and gold and silver, it comes up to $250,000. You multiply that by 0.025, which is $6,250 in zakat. Now, don't look what you have to give. Look what remains with you. What remains with you? You have $243,750 for yourself. Subhanallah. Allah allows you to have $243,750 for yourself. And $6,250 you have to give out to the poor. So don't, as I mentioned earlier, don't make that a problem that I have to give this amount. Just look how much Allah has given you. And by the way, if you did not give more than your 6,250, Allah will not take, like your salah. You pray your daily salah. Yes, you have to pray sunnah. You have to pray your nawafil. They build up your iman. They strengthen your iman and so forth, like your sadaqat. But don't look at zakat as it is the amount you have to give out. Look at the amount you also, Allah has permitted you to give. Zakat on business assets. So you own a business, you have a lot of equipment, tools. There is no zakat on business assets that are used in carrying out the functions of the business. So, for example, you have tools, materials, vehicles, buildings that are not intent for sale, but they're used as part of the business. They're part of your business asset. Okay, there is no zakat on that. However, if they are intent for sale, then they are considered as stocks or merchandise, uruda tijara, and zakat becomes wajib on that. And we say, like a car dealer who has 20 cars, maybe he will be driving all 20 cars. You know, some car dealers drive their cars, not the brand new cars, maybe the used car dealers, they drive their cars, make sure that they work and so forth and so on. So they are using their cars, but they are also selling those cars. Those cars are meant to be sold. So zakat is paid on what he owns in those cars. Okay, so if he owns all, he pays zakat on all, because that's cash put into a commodity for sale. Okay, if he owns, let us say, $100,000, but the 20 cars value $200,000, then he pays zakat on the $100,000, because he does not own the other 100,000. The other 100,000 is on loan. He does not own it. Maybe he owns the bank, he owns someone else. But what he owns, he adds that to his cash, to his stocks, and he multiplies that by 0.025. So remember, whatever is used in your business to carry out the function of your business, you do not pay zakat on that. But if you use those items in your business, but they are meant to be sold, then as a matter of inventory in your business, then you have to pay zakat on that. Simple. If they are meant to work and to function in your business, to get your business going, even you might have 3 company vehicles, okay? You do not pay zakat on that. But if your company is a car business and you are selling these cars, you can have 2 cars, 3 cars, but you are selling them as part of your business. They are called uruda tijara, and they are taxable. Now, paying zakat, I think Sheikh has mentioned, Sheikh Yaser mentioned about paying, the full Hijri year. And remember, it is Hijri year, not the solar or the 365 days that we are counting. It's not January to December. It is Hijri year, means it is a little less by about 12 days shorter, okay? So if you have let's just take from, many people use the month of Ramadan for paying zakat because it is convenient for them from one Ramadan to another Ramadan. But if your zakat becomes, let's say you have the nisab in Rajab, the next year Rajab, you should pay your zakat. Don't delay until Ramadan comes, because what you would have done, you did not pay your zakat when Rajab. You see, this money business, I know it might sound a little complicated, but brothers and sisters, this is part of our Islam. This is one of the pillars of Islam. Unlike Salah, how we know how to make wudu, how to do tayammum, calling adhan, knowing the time for each prayer, what is arkan of salat, what is wajibat of salat, what is sunnah of salat, what is makruhat of salat, what is mubtalat of salat. All of these things are in details, and we tend to know generally. We might know about that. Sheikh also mentioned that point. But when it comes to zakat, we must not play, idly and or just don't care about this information. This information is like praying without wudu. Not caring about salat, zakat is like wanting to pray without wudu. Like you don't care. I'm just gonna be Allahu Akbar. You don't care which is Qibla. You don't care if I have wudu. I don't care if this is the time for Maghrib. Nobody does that. If somebody does that and just come in the masjid and pray in the other direction, Allahu Akbar, and it's not even time for Dhuhr, you will say, brother, what's wrong with you? Don't pray. So similarly, this zakat is also institutionalized, and many books of fiqh go into the details. We are just saying it here as simple as we can, so that people, brothers and sisters who are owners of nisab, can really come forward and give their zakat without seeing it or escaping from that. Okay? So if your zakat is up in the month of Rajab, pay in the month of Rajab. If you use Ramadan, there must be a reason why you use the month of Ramadan, not just only for convenience, but also that this is the month that when you have your nisab, so from one Ramadan to another Ramadan. Zakat can be paid in advance, and Sheikh mentioned that, so I'm not going to go into that. If one gives the poor all the money in the month of Ramadan and they fear that they might, I think Sheikh mentioned about that too. We talk about the poor, zakat on crops, okay. 10% if you depend on rainfall, 5% if you use your own expenses for irrigation, okay? So I don't know if any brothers can always contact HHRD and tell them I have so many acres of plantation and I want to know how much is zakat. We can work that out. Who are the recipients of zakat? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions that these are the categories. إنما الصدقات للفقراء والمساكين والعاملين عليها والمؤلفة قلوبهم وفي الرقاب والغامرين وفي سبيل الله وابن السبيل فريضة من الله والله عليم حكيم. So Sadaqa are meant for these categories. So إنما it is telling you that these are specific groups, so you can't add more to them. Lam lil fuqara, it starts giving you the categories in specific order here or in specific mention. So lil fuqara are very poor people. They are poorer than the masakin. So these fuqara and masakin are very poor people. And brothers and sisters, if you don't think you know how many masakin among Muslims in the world today, just look at the refugees. Look at how many people have become refugees, fleeing their country, fleeing civil war, fleeing this, fleeing that, fleeing massacre, whatever it is. And they have come as penniless in sometime no man's land. These people are, most times when you hear these stories, and I'm sure brothers and sisters who work in HHRD can make volumes upon volumes of books of what poverty means. Alhamdulillah, I have seen some of it. And subhanallah, when you go and you see what poverty looks like, what a camp looks like after a tsunami, after an earthquake, whatever it is, after civil wars, it really will change your whole perspective of what money really is and what poor people is and what zakat is. You see, sometimes people talk, oh, it might be theoretical. I really will challenge many of our learned brothers and sisters, imma, whoever, And whenever possible, they can really not look on television, not look, because these days everybody doubt everything that they see, but just go to a camp that has been just hit by an earthquake, and you will see people who have food served to them the morning. They had maids and servants giving them food. And by the evening, they become beggars. They become really like fuqara, nothing but what they wear on their bodies. So I would say that, these categories, Allah is the all-wise. And that is why this ayah end with Wallahu Alimun Hakim. Allah is all-knowing, all-wise. We can be fuqara. And look at this coronavirus. Look at this coronavirus. If it gets more intensified, just look what happens. Everybody has become numb just for something that, as invisible as a coronavirus. When it is something bigger than that, when machines are pounding on you, on your village, on your houses, on your children, when there is wars going on, civil wars, when there is, catastrophes, disasters, and you have to run from your home, this is what those fuqara is. And let us not sit in America and think that, oh, maybe they will get to eat something. Subhanallah. I really want this point here to come out very clearly, that zakat is meant for these categories of people that Allah begins with: fuqara, masakin, those employed to manage the funds to attract the hearts who have been inclined towards Islam, to free captives, those in prison, for those in debt, for Allah's cause, and for the wayfarer. Wayfarer means that you are cut off from your... I'm sorry if I get a little emotional there, but it is the memory of going to these camps that, it cannot come out of your mind as you're talking about them. So I'm sorry about that. Those who cannot take zakat. A man cannot give zakat to his wife, his parents, his grandparents, his children, his grandchildren. So he can give to his brothers and sisters who are, struggling and so forth. So basically upon whom it is compulsory for him to spend on. Secondly, zakat cannot be given to non-Muslim because it's an act of worship, other than the fact that if their hearts are inclined to Islam. So charity can be, zakat can be given to them, but charity is given to all. There is no restriction to charity. Whatever, charity is a broad spectrum. Zakat, which is an ibadah to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then that is a little more confined. The rich cannot take zakat. And if the rich have lots of things, but they also have some debts, then let them start sell out their property. What is happening today is that rich people have millions of dollars, but they also have millions of dollars in debt. And so they don't want to pay zakat, and so they cannot receive zakat. In fact, if their wealth is more than what is necessary for them to, for the debt, then they will end up, they should calculate what they have accessible to themselves, and they pay their zakat as well, but they cannot take zakat. Strong, able-bodied, especially if they can work, if they're capable, but they're just not willing to work. And you see that those in at times that within your own family, you might have people who are very able-bodied, but they know you give them zakat and you give them a lot of money, so why work? Why worry? You should not give them. You should not let them do that, okay? Family of the Prophet ﷺ, especially from the two tribes, Banu Hashim and Banu Muttalib. Now, we have a case here where there are many people say they're Sayyid as descendants of the Prophet ﷺ. If it is verified for a fact that they are descendants of Bani Hashim or Bani Muttalib, then they would not receive zakat. But if they're just names given for whatever purpose, and they are poor, they can be entitled to zakat. So this Sayyid, the name Sayyid has to be verified. You are from the descendants of Banu Hashim or Banu Muttalib. Can zakat be sent to other countries, or must it be spent locally? It is permissible to transfer zakat to other countries and organizations so that they can distribute it to those people in need, provided that those in charge are trustworthy and will give the zakat to the rightful people. Okay? One tries his best to give poor people in his own country, but Muslims across the world are so desperate for food, water, and medicine, shelter, and if no one, sometimes there can be no one to help them other than the help that they get from foreign organization. So when we read stories of people dying just for a cup of water, and then we have somebody in our neighborhood who has food for several months, but we say, oh, we have to give him this money. This world has become a global village. So we see what is happening across the globe. And I think my time is up. I cannot see if anybody is writing me. Let me, I can, so I'm not able to see any of the, so the brothers might have to, Sheikh, let me know what is the situation. Yeah. I cannot hear you. If you're saying
Can you
something.
hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Would you like to share the screen? Or did the presentation cut off?
No. I thought that it is 7:15 and we are now 7:28.
Okay, I just was making sure. I thought.
First
of all, Jazakallah khair for the detailed presentation and answering these questions. I want to give a chance in where I can engage you a little bit about some of these masail that we commonly face during. Let me fix the screen also here. How does that look? Is that better?
Yes.
Yeah. So one of the things that we commonly face are issues that pertain to. Hold on 1 second. One of the issues that we commonly face during these. Okay, alhamdulillah, it's working. So in the blessed month of Ramadan, people tend to give their zakah, and they give their from their wealth, and people were asking different scenarios and questions about how the zakah is calculated on 401ks. I don't know if you had a chance to yeah. And then people were asking about among the frequently asked questions is projects in where there are wells being built, and majority of those who are the recipients of this kind of zakah or this kind of project they tend to be refugees, people that are already zakah eligible, those who are going to be the recipients. Can a well be built for them in that case?
Yes, absolutely. A well can be built, any infrastructure to make their life better, because zakat is actually to try to help that person, if possible, to get to independence, to get to his own state of paying zakat at some point in time. So it's not just giving them food or giving them money. It's trying to get them out. And so infrastructure, medicine, water, basic facilities that they would need to survive as human beings. Those shelters, all of those are zakatable or zakat eligible for people. And I would really encourage you to really give when you hear, especially water, because we take it for granted. You turn on your tap and you get water. But when people have to walk miles just to get a bucket of water, Yes, it's not, so these are the necessities of life, and organizations try their best to utilize zakat
in the
to
best way. And alhamdulillah, one of the things that Helping Hand is a one of the best zakah organizations, zakah eligible organizations. I see questions are coming in. We are sorry if your question was not answered during the program. Please,
maybe we'll have to do it back another.
no, we can ask them to comment. If you have a particular question, send in the comment. I'm able to see it. I will put it on the screen, and then it will be answered. So one of the questions one of the brothers here asked, he says, please clarify if zakah can be given to masjid.
Yes. So this is a question that has been asked over and over. The answer is no. However, some ulama looking at our time, if that masjid becomes essential, that without it people will go astray, there's nothing to bind them to Islam and nothing to bring them to Islam, then money can be used from zakat to build the masjid. Too often, masjid has captured the cream of zakat for themselves, and it is actually lil fuqara wal masakin, first category. And I think that we should, one of the things that is good for us to ponder about, that all these beautiful structures that we have, Allah has shut the door upon us. Let us think about that, brothers and sisters. So I would say, yeah.
And the other thing is also what the issue is that you mentioned the categories and the recipients of zakah, and masajids obviously don't fall into that. When we give the zakah, there has to be tamlik, of where you're transferring this ownership to someone else. And because of the fact that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not mention as one of the categories of things to spend on, and what the scholars always say in regards to this, Sheikh, and you know this much better, that whenever someone wants to give in charity, because people ask, can we give it to non-Muslims, can we give it to build a school, and all this questions do come in. What we always say is that if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given you fudul al-amwal, where you have an additional amount of wealth, then a person should actually give from that, because that is not, that is the money that you should use to build masajids, to build, Islamic schools, to build and support, institutions and things like that. But the zakah is for the fuqara. And as the Sheikh Yaser and yourself were speaking about, the purpose of why it is, so that it brings some sort of balance in the scales, right? So, but I do know that masajids do collect zakah, and they should also give it to those organizations that are doing, relief work and doing directly working with the most needed people around the world.
Yes.
And one of the questions that were coming here that I'm seeing from earlier was here. First, I would like to announce a very good thing that came in throughout the program. Saeed Sheikh said, Alliance for Disaster Relief, on behalf of our patrons, Mr. Javed Anwar would like to present a check of $10,000 to our great collaborative partner, HHRD, next week, inshallah. So this is an amazing thing that just happened right now. Someone came and saw this program and alhamdulillah decided to give $10,000 in support to the effort and work that we are doing. Again, if you're thinking of giving zakat this year, HHRD is the right organization to go to, zakat. Someone asked this question, says, so tax return money can't be used at zakat? And I think what they're trying to say is, if I get tax return as an income, is that zakat eligible money? That's what.
Yes, absolutely. It is eligible, or you can also use it to pay zakat. Okay, it is your money. Zakat, this tax return, which we hope to get some of it, we're still waiting, but it is our money that we pay for when we buy sugar and salt and oil and gas and car and job and everything else. You pay all of that income tax and everything else. So they're giving you back some of that money to rebuild and to bounce back the economy. So it becomes your wealth. And then again, as we mentioned, Sheikh also mentioned that you add it to your cash and you pay zakat on that. Then you can use it to pay zakat.
Okay. Very good. And someone asked, this is a scenario type situation. The sister says, I have a question. If I had $20,000 last Ramadan, and now this year I have $25,000 in my bank, how do I calculate my zakah?
Good question. And a lot of people feel that if I paid on the 20,000 last year, I only pay on the increase from then to now. The answer is you every year, whatever your amount is, you pay on what that amount is. So if you, let's say you have $20,000 for the last 10 years, nothing increased, you still pay pay zakat on $20,000 every year from then, when it increase or decrease, so long as you are in the nisab. I just want to let you know that Sheikh also mentioned about zakat on the wealth of orphans.
Mm-hmm.
And orphan mean that their father died, they might have left them, let's say $100,000. $100,000. And we have done the calculation from the time he was a baby. Let's say he's a baby and his dad left him in inheritance $100,000. People might think, oh, if I take out every year from zakat, what's going to happen with this poor child's money? Well, this is what's going to happen. If you keep taking out every year until he reaches the age of maturity, 16 or 17 years old, he will be giving out from that, assuming that no other activity is done with that money. He will be giving out about 1/3, and he has about $70,000 still at his disposal when he is going to reach the age of maturity to use that money, which means that the wealth of the poor is in that money too. Sheikh rightly mentioned that it is not the who is the owner, but the money itself that has to be calculated and given to the poor. And so don't think that zakat is so aggressive with your money. In fact, if you have all this wealth, $1 million, you pay $25,000 a year.
Mm-hmm.
You have $975,000 at your disposal to give from Sadaqa, to give from, khairat, tabarru'at, whatever you want to do. You still have the bulk of your money.
Yeah, you can keep on giving as much as you want, but this is all Allah is asking you.
Yes, so Allah is only asking you for that little bit.
Yeah,
and that's what I'm saying. Don't make that little bit sound like, oh my God, it's 25. If you pay zakat on 20,000, 20,000 will be what? 10,000 will be $250, $500. Okay, you pay zakat $500 last year.
Mm.
That's a police ticket or two if you go fast.
And Sheikh, the thing is that when it comes to zakah, in the books of fiqh, when you go to it, it says that zakah is due on the money and not on the individual. So,
yeah.
And the difference here, distinction is that if a person, for example, in fasting, if someone is not sane, meaning they're majnoon, they're not mentally stable, or they're not baligh, then fast is not obligatory on them. Yeah. But in the opposite sense, in zakah, it doesn't matter whether the person hasn't reached bulugh or hasn't, or the person's lost their, sanity. Zakah is due on the money. Yes. And not on the, whether the individual is wajib or not, doesn't matter about the individual. Yeah. It's about the money that the person possesses that is due.
I see a sister is writing, please tell me how to do zakat in gold jewelry if I do not know the exact way.
This is a question that people ask very commonly. Is zakat due on jewelry, since women tend to be the ones that possess the jewelry?
Yes. And as I mentioned in my discussion, the better thing to do is to pay your zakat and take it to a jeweler in many of the malls that you go, there's always jeweler that are there, and tell them that you want to weigh your gold. So long as they're 18 carat and more, you will consider that as gold. Some scholars say put it as 24 carat and so forth. I mean, those are the minor technicalities and details, but just take it and put it there, and they will tell you, I do have so much in gold. If you think you have too much, then take it 2-3 times, so they don't, or 2-3 different places, so they don't know that you have this amount of gold. But you can weigh it, or you can also average the price of it. You can know that this bangle will worth so much, and this, we have to find some method of knowing, just like how we have to find method of doing our salah correctly. The timing, we have a watch. Okay, we have a watch that tells us the time of the day. For zakat, we have to have some mechanism, and I'm telling you, this is one mechanism. There might be a scale that you can purchase online, and the scale will tell you whatever you have in gold. It might multiply by 24 carat and tell you, well, this is the pure gold that you have, and you have to pay zakat on that.
Yeah. And alhamdulillah, people, that information is readily available, even online. People can check the worth of their.
How to calculate zakat on retiree? I mean,
If someone has a retirement account, save
yeah.
it.
Again, the it's not on the person; it's on the wealth. And if somebody has lots of money at the time of retirement, he pays zakat on the retirement.
Yeah. And some people think that it's more rewarding to give the zakah in Ramadan in the last 10 nights, on the 23rd night. But it's really when the time has come, the cycle is complete.
If you want to do that, alhamdulillah, at least you have intention of giving your zakat, and you want to coincide with the Laylatul Qadr, that's fine. You want to give it in the last 10 nights. The mere fact that you want to give it, please give it.
MashaAllah, yeah. So, and one last question before we wrap up, inshallah ta'ala. Okay, so this person says, do we calculate the total weight of gold pieces or the amount of gold in a piece of jewelry?
Yes. So the better thing to do is to put all your jewelry, and you should know whether they're 18 karat, 21 karat, 24 karat, or 12 karat. And there is a mechanism that you can use to, some of the scholars say, which is much easier to do, from 18 karat upwards, you consider that as gold. So whether you have 10 rings, for example, and they're 18 karat or 21, 24 karat, these 10 pieces you put on the scale, it shows you they are 15 penny weight. You pay zakat, assuming that that's somewhere that's the nisab, or let's say 3 ounces of gold, you pay your zakat on that. If it is less than that, then it is not quite considered as gold. There's alloy inside. Like, so you have 12 karat gold. You have 12 of something else. It's not fully gold. So you can take that and divide by 2, because it's only 12 karat in that 12 karat of gold. So if you have 6 ounces of gold, you only pay on 3 ounces, because 3 ounces is actual gold. The other 3 ounces is some other metal that they put with that gold.
Yeah.
Gotcha?
MashaAllah, Sheikh. Jazakallah khair. And now for this question here, I know we didn't cover zakat al-zuru'.
But for crop coming from the ground, you pay zakat then and there before 1 year. Yes, you pay when the time of reaping, harvesting.
Yeah. So my question, he says, if I get a profit check from a business, do I pay zakat as soon as I receive the profit, or will it be added to the bank account and zakat?
You add it to the bank account, because the agriculture is different hukum. Okay? Agriculture has a different zakat law than cash coming from business or otherwise.
Of trade, or
Trade, business,
merchandise and stuff.
job, whatever.
And inshallah ta'ala, I think that's all the questions for the day. I'm not seeing anything new. Is it okay? And then this is the last question that
We had a lot of last questions. So.
the last question, ya Sheikh. This is the last question. So he says, is it true that we have to pay zakah only once on the jewelry of personal use?
No, every year. Every year as that jewelry comes back, we have to, as I said, think of zakat, $1,000, $25. $2,000, and if you wear $2,000 in gold, if you wear 2,000 US dollars in gold, then you're solid. Paying $50 out of that for a year to shake off and to do tazkiyah of the soul, I think you should do it.
Inshallah. Really beneficial program. Jazakallah khair, Sheikh Abdool Rahman, for being our honorable guest today here with us and answering this important and imperative questions related to the rules of zakah. And alhamdulillah, we've benefited. This is a good reminder for all of us that we all are in need of this reminder and to educate ourselves about the rules of zakah. And this does not serve as a replacement for your personal endeavors to continue to understand this field in detail, because it's a personal obligation and one should try their utmost best to try to understand the rulings pertaining to this. So inshallah ta'ala, do you have any concluding words, Sheikh, for us?
May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless all the brothers and sisters who took time off to listen to this. It means that you care for your deen. You care, that you want to understand what are my obligations. Even the questions asked are clear to know that, indicating that you are very concerned about doing it right. And if once you have that clear understanding, the clear niyyah of serving Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, carrying out His commandment, I think Allah will accept that before you actually do it. Your niyyah is clear, and then you do the action, subhanallah. Like the animal.
May Jazakallah khair, Sheikh. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless you. Allah yaftah alayk wa yubarik lak, inshallah. And I wish you a early Ramadan Mubarak, as we are all about to.
Ramadan Mubarak to everybody. And Allah open our doors, open our hearts, and forgive us for whatever wrong we have done, and
Ameen.
remove this bala from us. Assalamu alaikum wa
rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Your Zakat will give HHRD an opportunity to fulfill our commitment to humanity in supporting orphans, sustaining widows, providing clean water in areas affected by disaster, building shelters for refugees, paving the path to success with education, providing life-saving health services, and much more. When you give Zakat now, you are ensuring those in need are taken care of, regardless of what's going on in the world.